Those ages using a government-issued ID, for instance. I mean, should Australians be prepared for having their faces scanned to use social media?
Good evening, everyone, and welcome. Joining me today is really someone that needs no introduction. Nick Patterson, welcome.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be here with you again, mate.
Likewise, and you've got some very big news. You've got a launch coming up, breaking news, but I want to save the best for last. We've actually, so we'll put that to the side for the moment, but we've actually had some more breaking news come in just a couple of hours ago where Moira Deeming has actually won her long-standing defamation suit against opposition leader John Pesutto, who defamed her as a Nazi because she had the audacity to rally for women's rights, which 5 years ago wasn't such a controversial topic, but apparently it is now. I just want to play a clip, two clips, short clips, one of Moira Deeming giving a speech a couple of hours back about her win, and then another follow-up speech from John Pesutto, and I want to get your reaction to it, Nick. So I'll just bring her the clip up for Moira.
Party value was honoured or furthered in Victoria by this relentless and remorseless campaign to discredit me and everybody who stood by me. But I was never going to let it go unchallenged in this state and under my Liberal Party logo that innocent women rallying against the destruction of every single common sense safeguard designed to protect them and their children could be attacked and scapegoated as Nazis and bigots. Those of us in this fight to restore parental rights, sex-based rights for women and safeguards for children, we are in every political party. We are in every workplace, every union, every family. We will never run out of energy. We will never be crushed, and we are going to survive whatever it is that you want to throw at us. And then we will win. I'm grateful to the court for its careful and prompt consideration of my case, and to my lawyers, who I cannot adequately thank for their skill and their passion and their integrity. Thank you also to all of those who stood by me and defended me, despite the personal and political differences, regardless of the cost, friends, strangers, opponents, Liberal members and colleagues. Thanks to everyone who prayed and wrote and donated, and especially thank you to those who told the truth. And finally, thank you to my family, and especially my husband.
Leadership in Victoria. That's why I have this job. That's why I intend to continue in this role. Now, today's decision by the Federal Court is obviously a very disappointing outcome, but I respect the Court's decision. So I do accept that the Court has delivered this decision, as disappointing as it is. I do wish to emphasise, though, for all Victorians, that I've always been a fighter, and I've always been a fighter for the right reasons and for the right people, the Victorian people. And that's why I will continue in this role, now more than ever, when it is so clear on so many indicators that our state is headed in the wrong direction, that we need leaders who have that fight in them, leaders who will stand up and be accountable and always put the interests of our state first. That's why I will continue in this role.
Nick, what did you make of that word salad from John Pesutto?
He's the epitome of a weak man who has, and when I say weak, I'm talking about he might have power and wealth and money and political power, but he has no moral strength of character. He's a liar. He's clearly a liar, in my opinion. He knew what he was doing. I mean, he's not a stupid man. He's intelligent, and he knew exactly what he was doing to Moira. Now, Moira is a beautiful human being. I've known her for quite a few years, maybe 6 or so years, and she's always been a big supporter for children, for women, just for rights in general. And she's actually supported us in various ways in the past, prior to her being in the in Parliament.
Well, and look, she won $300,000. Hopefully, I'm assuming he's going to try and appeal that. But I was telling you, I was mentioned before to you offline before we recorded. I was hoping that she'd get into the Liberal Party, but she's too good. They simply don't deserve to have someone like that in their party.
She's one of the good ones. Like Anne-Marie Hermans is another one of the really good ones. These are really good people with really good values, and they have morals, like very strong morals. And you basically what the Liberal Party, because I was in the Liberal Party for 4 years. I was a delegate for 4 years in that party. And I've seen it from within. The people that have really good morals and are getting a lot of headway with the people and winning people over, they get managed. They get managed, and we could see this is exactly what's happened with Moira. They were managing her away, but she's a fighter. She's a real fighter, and she's always been a fighter. That as long as I've known her. I mean, she was. I'll show you this. If I can share screen.
Yeah,
this
sure.
So we started a group called the Australian Peacemakers years ago, and prior to that, we had a group called Project Millstone, which we merged into the Australian Peacemakers, which is about exposing the sexual content in the schools and protecting child abuse victims. And Moira was writing articles about the education programs that were specifically the Safe Schools program, which is not safe at all. It's all about indoctrinating our children into sexual perversion. And she was sharing those with us because I asked her if I could share her articles, and she would just give us the articles directly. They were published in some different newspapers. I can't remember which ones, but you can see she was.
Are you actually sharing, Nick?
No, I'll share now.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure.
Yeah,
just in case.
All the way. Here we go. So this is our Peacemaker side. This is Project Millstone. This is our ministry side. This is Project Millstone. And in here we've got these articles here. I mean, there's one from Moira Deeming. This one was from December 8th, 2021. And she was helping us back then to break down
the politics.
Yeah. So you can see that, she cares about the people. Yeah. She wasn't asking for anything from us. She was just sharing her articles that she was writing for this particular paper, and in the hope that we would reach more people with the truth. So she's using her power of influence that she had back then to invoke a positive response from the people. And you see now she's in politics. She's in the Liberal Party. And when she tries to do something good, what do the Liberal Party do? They try to destroy her for doing nothing wrong. And they knew she did nothing wrong because it's blind Freddie can see she did nothing wrong. When I was in the Liberal Party too, I want to iterate this to you. So I was helping Anne-Marie Hermans. She's a state MP now, and she's one of the really good ones in there as well. I was helping her run her campaign. I was running security for her campaign on election day as well. And I was helping. We were in the same. There was like a campaign group of volunteers, and I remember we also ran. I also helped start a political party called the Aussie Battler Party with my friend David Armstrong and Stu O'Neill, who was the main guy behind that party. And I ran a whole bunch of candidates out of my gym to help them get a preference deal later. And I was new to politics back then, but I was in the Liberal Party at the same time, right? So I had to be the silent guy in the background, because you can't be doing that, right? But anyway, I remember that Stu. I remember the day Stu rings me up. He was the main guy behind that party, and he goes, "Nick, the Liberal Party had a preference deal with me, and I was going to preference them. We've had this locked in for ages. And now it's the last day that the preferences have to be locked in, and they give me a phone call and they say, we're not going to do a preference deal with you."
Wow.
Right, so they call the preferences on the last day. So then he's like, well, who do I preference now? I found out, because I raised this in one of the political meetings, right? And it was like it wasn't a state assembly or anything. It was just a conservative meeting where there were other people from other conservative parties. And I raised it because I'm a bit of a reckless abandonment sort of guy. Like, I'll just call it out. I don't care who I offend. If it's wrong, it's wrong. So I said, why did the Liberal Party pull the pin on my mate's party with their preference deal? Why did that happen? Why would that happen? What are the reasons that you could do that? And they could not give me a clear and concise answer. They just did the politician thing. It's like they're professional liars. And they said, the preferences are an interesting thing, right? And they just start to go on this tangent. Anyway, after that event, some of the people that were there had a chat with me. One of them was a woman who was an independent, but she was running with some other party, I believe, as well. And she had the same thing happen to her the last day of the preferences. So she had a preference deal locked in with the Liberal Party. And then on the last day, they pulled the pin on those preferences. She said the shooters and fishers had the same thing happen to them on the last day of the preference deal.
Tactics.
And she said and she mentioned another party that had the same thing happen to them. So I raised this again and again in different meetings. No one would give me a clear answer as to why, but it's obvious that they threw the election on purpose. There were too many good people in the party, and they couldn't control the party, because that was a period where there were a lot of Christians in the party because of the sexual education and the safe schools programs in Victoria, and it was during the Victorian election. So they just they literally threw the election, because there's no way to explain it. You literally had all these different parties had preference deals locked in with you, and you decided to pull the pin at the last minute on all of them. And then remember there was that massive swing in favour of Labor, not the last election, the one before. That was the reason why. Wow. That was the reason why. And the only people that could have made those decisions was Nick Demiris or Michael Kroger. They were the power people at the time. So I'm not fond of the Liberal Party at all. But there are some good people in there. But they're unable to do all the good that they should do, because the party completely controls them and micromanages everything they do.
When you say good people, are these people actually serving in the Victorian Parliament? Are they MPs? Yeah. You don't have to name names, but I'm just curious.
We've got Moira Deeming, and we've got...
Who's no longer in the party. She's a member, which is not an MP.
Oh, that's right. No, sorry. No, we've got Moira. We've got what's her name? Anne-Marie Hermans. She's a member of Parliament. Right. So okay. She's a very good friend of mine, and she's got very good values, very good morals, and she's honest, and she actually cares about what's right and what's decent. I think she's too good for that party as well. I think why are you in a party where you're being managed away and you don't really have the freedom to actually invoke the power of influence that you have, because that's really what we have. I mean, obviously you can write legislation and all the rest of it, but the real powerful thing, because I believe that the real solution to the problems we have is found within us. So people, it's one thing to be awake to what's happening, but if you're awake to all the happenings and all the goings on and you're full of fear and doubt, you're not going to have the confidence and ability to actually do anything and act in a way that's going to change things and make them better. So the solution is to empower people with the confidence and the tenacity and the diligence to get to become the best they can be, and the staunchest moral advocates that they can be, and then to maximize all of their natural abilities and gifts in pursuit of a positive outcome. If people that are in Parliament have the ability to invoke and influence people in that way, and that the problem is people that are in some of these really big parties, they don't have. I mean, the Labor Party, you can't do any good there because the party decides what you vote for and what you say, and they just get rid of you if you don't, because they don't have. They have they don't have the conscience voting in there.
Nick, how did we get to? I'm just scratching my head. How did we get to this point in time where standing up for women's rights is seen to be so controversial that you get branded a Nazi? Have you got any thoughts or insights on that?
Well, I mean, it's to me, it's very clear that how do you destroy someone's character or the work that they're doing, which is influencing good, when it's good and people can see that it's good? That's all they're doing, and it just shows that they're straining at a gnat to do that. They don't have much else. And these people are liars, professional liars. I mean, we've literally got in this country, I think it was I was watching Punters Politics, and it's a great channel, and they and the Australia Institute, where they mention $149 billion worth of our natural gas has been given away by our politicians to foreign companies for nothing. No tax, no royalties, nothing. Just given away. And then these politicians, one of them's Nicole Madison. She's Madison with a T. She was one of the main culprits in I think it was a $28 or $30 billion deal. She's from the Northern Territory, and then she went and worked for that company that she gave away all that natural gas to. So they're thieves and robbers. And that's the problem with the political class. And I think that's why so many people are disillusioned with politics. Because the same reason I was it. I had no interest to be in politics ever. The only reason I joined the Liberal Party and was working with setting up that other minor party in the past was because of the sexual education that was being promoted to the children in the schools, right? Because I had a young child then. I think I might have had two. And then what I saw within the Liberal Party was you can't fix this. There's too much corruption, and there are people that have it's a system where there's a number. I think of it like a system where there's a number of buttons that could be pressed. If the people start to get control of the party, I will press that button and we'll just destroy it, which is what they did 2 state elections ago, right? So I just saw it. I went, well, there's no. And I'll tell you something else that happened when I was in the Liberal Party. So I was in the state council as a delegate, and I ran a motion to open up a number of child abuse cases that implicated politicians. And one of them has a ongoing petition, a documentary, and a book written about it. Okay. And I raised, and it was the motion that I ran through the state council, and I was trying to debate my own motion. And Robert Clark, the former Attorney General, who was the president of the party at the time, started yelling at me, "Get out, get him out of here, get him out of here." And then they got security to get me out of the venue. And there were a number of really toffy Liberal people who, on the other side of the room, the hundreds of people in this room, coming over and yelling abuse at me, hurling abuse at me. Now, I've seen people get up there and talk about the most ridiculous things, like, you know, just talk about just stuff that it's just meaningless for too long. Can you please sit down? And they let them go on and on and on. When I'm talking about something that literally has an ongoing petition, it implicates politicians in child abuse, and there's a documentary made about it, a book that's written about it, and it's very well known. And they just straight off the bat get him out of here, and then all these topic people from the other side of the room start yelling and screaming at me. One of them was an older lady, started grabbing me and pushing me.
Wow.
And then they got security. Yeah, lots of people saw this.
Was this on camera? What was filmed?
It wasn't filmed, but there was an article written about it. And
wow.
I can't remember where, but it was a lot of people saw it. And it was crazy. My friend Anne-Marie.
Acting like they've got something to hide.
Well, my friend Anne-Marie Herman, she's a member of Parliament. She was there that day. I think Moira might have even been there that day. I know it was a 2-day event. The security didn't kick me out, and I walked out with them. I said, just wait there, because I made friends with the security guards the day before. And it's interesting how I had an idea that this might happen. I had no idea. And I wasn't abusive, aggressive. I wasn't forceful. I was actually very, very moderate in how I tried to present my position and my debating of my own motion, which I'm meant to be able to do. Anyway, they just screamed and yelled. The security came, and then I said to them, because I made friends with them the day before, because that's what I used to do as a job. I used to do security work. I was talking to them, what security company you work for, where have you worked, and we just got along. Because, you know, I come from I don't come from the toffee class. I come from the lower class, so I can communicate with these people and get along with them, and they know that we're of the same ilk, right? And then they wouldn't grab me, and Robert Clark saying, get him out of here, and they wouldn't do it. They wouldn't do it. I said, yeah, just wait, mate, I'll walk out with you in a minute. And I just finished what I had to say. So I don't have any positive feelings or emotions towards the Liberal Party. And obviously the Labor Party is just gone. Like, you can't, there's nothing redeemable in that party. It is literally just a socialist party designed to get rid of everything to do with God and to just destroy our culture and our values in this country and bring in the new culture and new values that they want to create. So that's how I feel about it. Yeah.
Now, speaking of Labor, the Labor Party, I was telling Michael the other week, going on to a slightly different topic, before we get to the main topic, a lot of people, there's a misconception, and it's been pushed by the establishment, that a lot of that hatred towards Jews comes from the right, from the far right. If you ask the average Australian Jew, including myself, they will say that the root cause of it is the far left. And the more woke the society is becoming, the more hatred and animosity there is towards Jewish people. And it's not a coincidence. I want to play, there was you may have heard of it, a synagogue, an arson attack on a major synagogue in Melbourne. Jacinta Allen visited the site after the firebombing. Albanese then came a few days later in between tennis games to briefly visit. He was heckled. I just want to play a clip where Jacinta Allen, the Premier of Victoria, is being confronted by a member of the Jewish community. I want to get your reaction to it.
No, the Victoria Police are going to increase police patrols.
Is that not a sign that you've lost control in this state and the Jewish community are now a real threat, and that your government has ultimately failed? And let's be clear, in November 2023, there was in fact a synagogue. The Summary Offences Act gave Victoria Police the ability to charge them under that act, a very low threshold. You didn't use it.
Well,
and had you done that, we wouldn't be good faith. So let's stop with the politics and let's get a short, sharp, straight answer. Have you lost control? Have you lost control? Yes or no?
I will take advice from Victoria Police. I will take the advice from the Victoria Police and the Chief Commissioner, who advises me that in terms of acts of violence, they have the tools and the powers to investigate and prosecute people. It would be deeply inappropriate. It would be deeply
politics, and this is the time.
So the reason why I'm also curious to get your insight because of your role in the Peacemakers, and you've also run gyms, you've interacted with people from different cultures, you've built bridges with a lot of people. So I want to get your perspective. Do you think that he was obviously asking a rhetorical question. Do you think Jacinta Allen has lost control? What do you reckon?
I honestly reckon that because 2 gyms that I've worked for have both been burnt down, firebombed as well. So I've worked for one gym in Dandenong, burnt down. I worked for another gym, and that was burnt down as well, right? And it's pretty obvious who committed the crime, yet no one's been arrested. So you've got to ask yourself, how can these police not be arresting these people when I can tell? I know who they are. We all know who they are.
We've had the tobacco wars for the last 2 years.
Yeah. We're seeing restaurants, florists, tattoo parlors, gyms, tobacco shop, all these different businesses being burned down. We even had a church in Geelong firebombed as well. We've had, I think, 2 synagogues burnt down. It's completely out of control. But then you've got to ask yourself: are they allowing it to happen because they want the problem so they can have the solution, the reaction, then the solution, because that's generally how it is. I mean, that's what all the COVID was, is exactly that.
I'm just playing a clip of Albanese being heckled and visiting the synagogue as well. But essentially, there's a lot of anarchy in our state. What do you think? I mean, do we have a solution to
I think
issues? Is it too complex to solve?
I don't think you can solve it with politics. I think people just need to go. I mean, do you think the police are going to go out and get these people? I don't believe it. I don't. They would have got these people by now, and they're not. They would have got all those people that have been, doing this all over Melbourne already. They haven't. They're not. So what happens is you then get forced to have to deal with it yourself, and then you get targeted by the police, and they go after you for trying to bring the culprits to justice. So this is our real problem. Our police are not operating the way they're meant to operate. I have a friend who's an ex fraud. He was a senior constable in the fraud squad, and he's got an IBAC statement, which has gone viral a while ago, where he basically says that they had all of the evidence to prosecute the red shirts, the people that were involved in the red shirts rot. And they were the police command. They quashed the investigation, and those people who quashed the investigation were all promoted after quashing the investigation. I'll get you a copy of that if you want, and you can share it You can share it if you want. Insane. But it's insane. And that was what's the current police commissioner? What's his name again?
Patterson. He should have resigned a long time ago.
He was one of the ones who quashed the investigation. Right, and IBAC obviously can't do anything because IBAC is funded by the same people that it's a cartel, because you've got the executive government. They appoint the judges, they appoint the police commanders, and then they fund IBAC, the independent organisation that's not independent because it can't be, but it's meant to be independent. They fund them. And if they're funded by the executive, why are they going to prosecute them and pursue them and investigate them? They can just cut the funding, right? So this is what's going on. I'm obviously I've got the Fight Corrupt Police channel on Telegram, and there's a lot of ex-police who've reached out, and a lot that I've been working with. There's actually 7 main guys, ex-police officers. And some of them are very intelligent too, and they've left for moral reasons. But they've given me a really clear understanding of how it operates from within the police force, and how it basically a lot like the Liberal Party, how they micromanage people that have good intentions and a desire to do what's right. They'll micromanage them into being useless at doing things that need to be done, because they're just controlled, and they're there. I mean, obviously they do a lot of work as far as like help. They help when there's someone's dead on the road, things like this. Awful job to do. But let's say you've got somebody who's got some clout behind them, and they've got friends in high places. You think you're going to be able to prosecute those people? No. You think you're going to be able to? No, unless you have the people power behind you and a huge amount of people power. You need a lot. You can't get these people. And that's why it's so important that we do start to unite the people more. And it's important that when we unite, because that's what I think we have. Is we don't have the dollars. We don't have the, money is power. Knowledge is power. People are also power. That's what we have on our side. We have people power. But what's happened to our people is we've been convinced that we're weak and we can't win. And it's not true. We're going to stop. We're going to stop with that mindset. We're going to start to believe that, no, we can win and we can work together and we can walk in the same direction, but then they get us divided. Oh, you're Muslim, you're this, you're that, and it's like, well, hang on. Why don't we start focusing on the things we have in common and build our relationships from that perspective? We have more in common than we have, at variance. And if we are to do that, we can actually be very effective at fixing our problems. But we're obviously it's very easy for them to get us divided. As far as the synagogue though being burned down, I'm a little bit concerned that what they will do with this is bring in a task force with special powers.
Yeah,
to deal with.
That is a concern, and that doesn't actually serve the interests of the Jewish community either, and the wider community. It's purported they do it under the guise of protecting the Jews and the wider society. Sorry, go on, Nick.
Well, what that would do is that would make people create an animosity against the Jews, and it would grow because people go, "How come you're being treated that way, but others aren't? You're a special."
We're seeing that already.
Yeah. And it is appalling to me.
It's by design.
The way that they're I see a lot of these protesters that are at the pro-Palestine rallies and that, and I'm not taking a specific position on it, but I just see the amount of leftists there, like really woke people. They're queers of Palestine, all this sort of stuff. And because we were at that Never Again Is Now rally, we ran, our peacemakers did security there. And there was a counter rally, which was basically all of these, they were like pro-Palestine that they claim to be, but they're really just like extreme left Antifa people. And they were really aggressive and violent as we were trying to set up for that rally. And they had a flyer with a foot stomping on someone's head. Right, that's the kind of spirit behind it. It's just hatred. They hate our society. They want to destroy it. Everything's bad, bad, bad. Now, I don't want any of that to exist in our society. Anything like that. And until you start, these people start to have some decent values and start looking at, some common ground that we all have and being grateful for the things they do have. How can we even engage in a conversation with them? We can't. We can't even engage and say, okay, maybe there's something wrong on this side, let's have a look at the other side and actually resolve our differences. You can't resolve differences with people that are just filled with hate. And that's the problem that we have with I call it the academic Marxist, the academic Marxist culture that's coming out of the universities now.
That's poison.
It's this academic group of people that I believe are just completely brainwashed, and they hate everything without understanding even why they hate it. It's all emotion, and it's like a cult of people with all these mixed emotions and they're all damaged, and then they're just so manipulated by all these falsehoods that you can't even have a discussion with them and ask them why they think the way they think, because they don't have the capacity to explain it in detail in a concise and clear manner. And that's the problem that's a barrier. I don't think it's a huge barrier though. The only thing is there's a lot of people jumping on that bandwagon on that side, and there's a lot of hatred focused towards Israeli people over here, which I don't understand how you can get to that point. How do you hate? Because it's real. I'm seeing it. Like my cousin's Jewish, right? And she's telling me about some of her extended family and what they're experiencing, and it's really happening. Like this, they can't be themselves. They can't be outwardly Jewish because they're getting attacked and screamed at and yelled at in various places. I wouldn't want to be a proud Jew in somewhere like Brunswick or in the inner city of Melbourne. I reckon that you would get a lot of flack. So I think there's a big, and I reckon this is the biggest division narrative or narrative of division that we've had in possibly ever in our lifetimes with this Palestine Israel thing, because it's literally dividing all of these countries, and really we have our own problems here.
That's right. No shortage of problems.
Yeah, why don't we fix our problems here and focus on that, rather than focus on all the problems that are happening over the world?
Spot on.
I can't fix all the problems over there. We can't, but we could if we focused and put our energy to it. We could fix our problems here. At least a lot of our problems. Yeah.
But that's by design. It's designed to distract people. The government wants to distract the population. They don't want them to focus on the issues here, because if they focus on the issues here, then that's going to bring down the government. They want everyone distracted, and the leftists, starting from academia, and then you've got Albanese and Wong and Jacinta Allen and others who are the source. They are responsible for the situation that we're in, where there's a hostile environment for Jewish people. But then they frame it in such a way that they blame it on these fringe right-wing groups, who in some way are also, but they're not the source of it.
No.
They are the source of it. And then they bring these laws in, and they already have enough legislation in their hands to enforce it, but they don't. They selectively enforce it. They bring in more draconian legislation. The Jews get blamed for it as well, by the way. But
it's all the Jews. It's all the Jews' fault, right? I've heard that over and over again. The Jews
and it's by design. It's by design, and it works brilliantly. Works like a charm.
Amazes me how many people literally say things to that effect, and when you ask them, well, where do you get that from? They go to small videos, little short clips here or there. There it is, and it's like that doesn't prove any of that. It doesn't, right? And when they say things like I get called a Nazi sometimes. Sometimes I get called by these leftists. Just the other day, I was getting called, and again from a group. Somebody was posting up an event with other people, nothing to do with me. I'm not at this event, but then my name was brought into it, and I was called all of these names. So the side of the coin that's pushing this, which is that academic side that wants to destroy our culture, they will just lie about everything. And one of the things that they do is they blame all of the problems in the world on the Jews. It's all the Jews' fault. And I can't see any evidence for that. There's definitely Jewish people that have powerful positions that are doing some bad things, but there's people that aren't Jewish that are doing that too, right? Yeah.
I couldn't think of anything worse than giving a government, and the government's obviously wanting to give themselves these powers, but giving a government that selectively enforces the law, that uses a two-tiered system to give them even more powers. It's like pouring kerosene, on a fire, and using that as a solution.
I think it's a fight for them to have control of. I mean, that's why they need to get rid of our ability to express ourselves on social media and to speak in public forums, with like this misinformation bill that they tried to pass. Now they're bringing in another one that's basically the same. They need to stop us speaking, because when we speak, we can basically invoke a different will into people, right? And remember, the thought precedes the action, but what precedes the thought? The will, the heart, right? So when people have a will to do moral things, and then there's a government that says, no, you've been legislated and your legislative obligations are to do immoral things, then they're at war with the government, right? So the less heart and will that the people have to do moral things, the more power the government has to compel them with legislative provisions to do immoral things. And we saw this in real time during the COVID lockdowns, when there was, hundreds of thousands of people rallying, and then that half of the police force, literally 50% of the police force, roundabouts, either left or went on leave, stress leave, and all the rest of it, because they wouldn't enforce it anymore. They had enough of it. Now that's when the government goes, well, we have an agenda. We want to get the people to X. We need the police to push them there. And the police say, no, we're not doing it. We need the medical staff to push them there. Well, half of them aren't working either now. How do we get them there if they won't do it? And the reason they don't do it is they don't have the heart for it anymore. They go, no, they don't want to do that. It's not. And that's how we win. That's the solution. It's not political. That's just a small part of the solution. The real solution is empowering the people to have a will to do what they know is right and to become the best that they can be and the most powerful people they can be, because we all have a measure of influence and power. And if we make a conscious sort of declaration within that we are going to be, like I could say, I'm Nick Patterson, I'm going to be the strongest, most powerful people, and I'm going to be a warrior and fight to solve the problems that I can and to be part of the solution. I'm going to do everything I can. I tell you what, and if you do that with confidence and faith and with pure conviction, and you're going to be very powerful. What's happened is we've got people in a daze where they're just sort of switched off, and maybe there's a bit of conviction, but then it's overshadowed by doubts and fears, and we can't win anyway. What's the point in trying? So that's the solution. We need to invoke that conviction within people to actually stand up for themselves, stand up for each other, and to do what they know is morally right, and believe that they can win, and stop getting caught up with all the rubbish and all the false ideology and all that garbage that goes around on the truth media as well. There's heaps of lies there as well.
Yeah, people don't realize it. Now, Nick, you got some really big news. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so there's a good friend of mine, Tristan Van Rye, known as Tricky Tritty, who ran all the Brisbane freedom rallies during the COVID lockdowns. He's also been an advocate for many years with other aspirations. Very good guy, solid, staunch, and he's got a lot of integrity. I've known him for a long time. And he supported me through my legal cases as well. And another friend of ours, Maria Schmandy, we've teamed up together and we've started a party called Power to People. We've got a website, power2people.com.au, and it's a political party that's by the people for the people, because there's lots of political parties out there, and there's heaps of political parties that are really political people trying to be political and play politics. Well, we're not politicians. We are I'm willing to go with reckless abandonment to like when I was a fighter, to expose the lies and all of the evil that goes on in our government. And I'm willing to take all the risks and do all the things that a lot of people wouldn't have the guts to do. Because people are scared of, what if I get in trouble? Well, I don't care about that. I care more about what God thinks of me. And if I can be in a position where I have more power and more influence, I'm going to use that to please God and to help my fellow man. And that's all it's about with us starting this political party, is to give us a more power and more capacity to be influential. Now, a lot of people have said, "Oh, why you're dividing the freedom vote? You know, there's enough political parties." Actually, what happens is when I know a lot of people that aren't in the freedom movement. I know loads of people. I was a professional fighter for years. I know people from all the gyms all around this state, and actually a lot of this country. I've been doing that for a long time. There's a lot of people there that aren't in the freedom movement that would come on board and join our party and get involved in politics because I am. Not because I'm great or anything, but because they know me and they would support me. I've had people message me, lots of people say, "Nick, I've never gotten into politics before, but I want to support you." So it wouldn't be dividing the freedom movement. It would actually be bringing a whole lot of people, other people in. And that's what we need. We need more people to be aware, especially the fighters. I know the fighters. That's what I did. I had a fight gym for 12 years. I was a professional fighter. That's what I did. My wife's a fight promoter. I do fight commentary. So we can reach, if we can reach that community, that's one community that could be a very powerful one. that hasn't, who's actually, it's a community that's been very, very hurt and damaged through the lockdowns too, because the gyms were shut down. There's also the church community. Like, I know lots of people in the churches. I've been involved in lots of different churches, and I've been involved in them in a positive way. And that's another big community that we could get involved in our politics, and they probably wouldn't have been as politically active without us being there. But now that we're there, we can.
I think we may have lost you, Nick.
Or divide the vote from the freedom community. We want to bring more people in, and then ideally, this is the plan. We work together with the other aligned minor parties, and we work with them. The ones that have merit, like the Great Australia Party. I love those guys. I think they're great people. I would work with them in a heartbeat, right? So there are other parties that we can work with, and we can have a desired outcome. If you look at how the Labor Party operate, they literally use all the minor parties to preference votes towards them. So this idea that more parties is a bad thing is ridiculous. Actually, we just need to clean up what we already have and get them united, because there's quite a few minor parties that I believe are not in it for the people, and I think a lot of people believe they are. Having Tristan and Maria and I teaming up, people know that we have integrity, and people will support us and will help us to build this party up. And hopefully we can really get aligned with a lot of these other parties and work together for maximum good, which I call maximum damage to the establishment, because that's what needs to happen. We need to take them down. They're a pack of liars, and we're at war with these people. It's a war between good and evil. And that's what it comes down to. Like, I'm a man of faith. I'm a biblical man. So I believe that God makes men who they are. And the idea that, you have to be politically this way or that way, you've got to have all this knowledge and have all these people involved and have all these resources. No, you don't. I don't believe it at all. We actually have people power. And if we actually can invoke that activation switch within people to be the best, most powerful people they can be, we actually don't need as many people to be active to get the job done, so that we can maximize our capacity and get a great result.
Quality over quantity. And Nick, just to clarify, so you're the three of you are both running for Senate seats.
Yes.
So you're running for Victoria, Tricky and Maria are running for to represent Queensland in the Senate.
Yeah.
And are you fielding other candidates in other states as well?
We are looking for some, yes. Yeah.
Okay. This is a call out for anyone that's watching.
Yep. You can email us through the website.
Yep. So we need obviously candidates in. You're looking to fill New South Wales, WA, SA, and the territories, and Tassie.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is the thing, right? We're not. We want people to join the party. We're just about to register it. We've got nearly enough members to register the party, but we just need a few more. So it doesn't cost anything to join the party. You just can't be a member of any other party. And if you do join, we just need to make sure that your details are consistent with the AEC, what's registered on the AEC. So sometimes it gets flagged for the middle name, or it gets flagged for the date of birth. So if you can just check the details on the AEC, and then put those details in and register, that'll be great, because the more the merrier. And look, we're not in it to be politicians. I think we've had enough of politicians being politicians. We're a completely different voice, and we're running this in a completely different way. I'm not going to go up there and talk politics with the politicians and get into that debate. I'm just going to talk morals and decency and call out the lies and the depravity that comes out of their mouths, and call it out and expose it. That's what needs to happen. And then invoke in the people a response where, one, people will have more confidence to actually not do what may potentially is obligatory for them to do, even though it's immoral. I mean, look at like the sexual education in the schools, right? And there's teachers, they have to teach it. I have to teach this. Well, you know what? You don't have to teach it, because it doesn't matter. You can just say no. Say no. Have the confidence to say no. Make a big stand. Oh, I might get in trouble. You know what? If a whole lot of us say no, that's the end of it. And it stops. We just need to have the confidence to do that and take our country back. But the real solution, I mean, you know, me being in the Senate isn't the solution. It's just part of the solution. But I want to fight against the evil, and I want to help others to fight. And I want them to help me to fight. And having a position in the Senate actually does give us the a louder voice. And a louder voice, what does our voice do? Our voice enables us to break down the false narratives perpetuated by these corrupt, evil government officials and these big corporates that influence our government. Now, everything that they do in our society, all of their power they get comes from their ability to perpetuate a lie. So when they tell us about climate change, carbon footprint, all of this madness, we need to bring in a carbon tax. This is all a lie. It's completely false. When they tell us that we need to use inclusive language and we need to teach the children to be kinder to the transgender people, this is complete rubbish. This is all designed to destroy our children and to destroy their foundation, their moral foundation. So they exist in a lie, and when we speak the truth and we destroy the lie, and then they lose their power, which is why they don't want us speaking. Now, we're not going to concede on our values. We're not going to concede on our morals. And we are not going to let, we're not going to accept brown paper bags from people that have brown paper bags to get us to go a certain way or in a certain direction, because that's not the type of people we are. I think that, Maria, Tristan and I have proven that we're not. We've done the hard yards. We've been dragged through the courts. We've run our rallies. I've lost my business, my gym, been put in jail for my morals, my moral position. So that's the difference with our party to many of the others, is we're battle-hardened, battle-proven people of integrity. And I'm not saying it to inflate my own ego, but it's true. And it's not being inflated to speak the truth. You can still maintain humility when you say these things about yourself, if it's true. And I won't concede on my moral principles. And I'm happy to put myself in harm's way for something that I believe is right and correct, because that's who I am. That's what it is to be a fighter and a warrior. I'm not from the academic class. I'm from the warrior class.
Thank God.
Yeah, we've got enough of the academic class. And we need the warrior class out there. We actually need the warrior class to work with the academic class. That's how we have maximum result.
Absolutely. And Nick, I know that you're strapped for time because you've just had this big launch. But is there anything? I want to give you the floor. Look, it's up to you. I want to give you the floor. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with our audience before we wrap up?
Yep. I just want to say to you all, we're only here for a short time in this world. Let's be the brightest light that we can possibly be and do everything we can to be part of the solution and be the best that we can be. The solution's really within us. And like it says in the Bible, the kingdom of God's within you. The Spirit of God dwells within you. The light that lights every man that comes into this world. We've got this light in us. Let's let that light shine. And we let that light shine when we do the things that other people are scared to do. That's why the Bible has, do not, fear not. Don't be afraid, be careful for nothing, all through there, hundreds of verses, because the idea of being scared goes to war with your ability to be confident and do what's right and to be brave. So we want to be brave people with confidence and be a bright light, and that inspires other people. Let's inspire as many people to be the best they can be, and the way we do that is to be the best we can be, so that people see it and they go, I want to follow that example. And then we really would be on the right path to fixing our problems and resolving all the issues that we face in this corrupted Marxist utopia they're trying to create.
Now, people, if you haven't done so already, please head on. I'm going to put the link in the description below. But if you haven't done so, please go on to powertothepeople.com.au. Like I said, link is in the description. Sign up, become a member. Membership is free, and go out and support Nick